I'm Kent and you're watching Weekend Adventure Rides. This week we are going to take our newly rebuilt wheel and get some tires mounted. Don't go anywhere. So I purchased a set of the Tusk D Sport Adventure tires. These are a 120/90/18. They are DOT approved, and I'm really looking forward to running them. They are a little bit hard, so I think they're gonna wear pretty well on the road. In addition to that, we have the Tusk Severe Duty tubes we're gonna put in. These are a 3mm tube. They are very heavy duty. They're a little more difficult to get in there and get them inside the tires, but I'll show you some tricks to do that more easily. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is get the rim lock in. Following the rim lock, we have the Tusk rim strip. This is a 18 by 1.25, and it has a hole for the valve stem. And then of course you're not gonna want a hole for the rim lock. The rim lock is going to go inside of this. This rim strip protects the tube from being damaged by the heads of the spoke nipples. Let me show you something here that I had questions about when I first started doing this, and it's not talked about a whole bunch, but when you're installing a tube, there's two nuts in here, and you want one of the nuts to stay in here and be underneath the tube or inside the wheel. Leave that on there, pull the valve cord. Gets a little bit of air into this. Sometimes you could use like a pump to get some air into it. This is, you know, inflating on its own pretty well. Obviously air is not gonna stay in there very well, but you want your tube to look like a tube and not be flat. Get some baby powder, put that inside of the tire, and we're just gonna rotate that around. If you don't have baby powder, cornstarch works just as well. I believe baby powder and cornstarch are really the same thing. That's gonna allow the tube to kind of move inside of the tire without causing damage to it. Now I like to put the tube in before I put it over the top of the wheel. Sometimes on DOT tires, you'll have a little red or blue mark that will tell you where the valve stem goes. I didn't see one on this tire. That's probably because it's more of an off-road style tire, but we're gonna balance it, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so we're gonna line up our valve stem hole with our valve stem, as well as getting a little dish soapy water here. And I'm just gonna spray this around the bead here. Just gives it a little bit of lubrication. Get our wheel set, get our valve stem lined up. And I'm gonna put my valve stem in first. This makes it way easier rather than trying to do it once the wheel is partway on there. I'm gonna put the nut on already, just so we can keep this lined up. We're gonna get one side of the bead in there. I'll be getting a tire machine as soon as I can. This is such a pain in the ass. Kind of going back and forth from side to side, just trying to make sure it's going on and not coming off anywhere. So getting around that rim lock's gonna be the fun part, because we want it inside the tire. So once we get one side on, as we're progressing it in, we can use that rubber rim liner to help retain that wheel lock. We're getting dangerously close now. There we go. We are halfway there. Okay, now I'm gonna work the tire over this rim lock. So you can see it went all the way over the top of it. I'm gonna pull it back up, push on the rim lock, so it's kind of allowing the tire to come underneath it. There we go, just like that. So now the rim lock's halfway in there as well. Now we can use our bead buddy to help us here. I'm gonna start just to the side of the valve stem. And this is where you wanna be really careful not to pinch your tube, because if you pinch it, you have to redo everything you just did. Take it all back off, start over. So just take really small bites here. I'm gonna grab my bead buddy, get that hooked under the edge of the rim, and this side of the tire. So that's gonna hold this in place as we go around and get everything else seated in there. So we got that one on. Gonna keep moving around. There we go. We got it on there. I can take my bead buddy off. All right, now that we've got our tire on, we can tighten up our valve stem nut here and pull it all the way through so we can get to it to put the valve core in and put some air in it. And we can make sure that it's not leaking. Didn't make a mistake. Okay, so I've got my mobile bike pump hooked up to the tire. We're gonna get it inflated. Okay, so we loosen up the nut. You could even just take this off. I'm gonna keep it on there and then just put your cap on. For the wheel lock, I'm gonna double nut it and then torque those two together. This is the new sprocket. It's a steel sprocket from Primary Drive. It came with the chain and drive sprocket. So we're gonna get that on there. I did decide to go with a steel sprocket as opposed to aluminum. We'll see how that works out. I was kind of at a crossroads that I couldn't make a firm decision. And I did the factory 48 tooth, which I may drop that down to say like a 44 if this isn't getting up to speed enough on the roads around town. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. I'm gonna play that by ear. They're not that expensive, so if I need to get another one, I can just grab that and put that on pretty easily. So along with the sprocket, I got the new sprocket mounting kit with new bolts, washers, nuts. These are kind of cool because they already have the Loctite on them, so you don't have to do that. You're going to use an 8mm Allen and then a 12mm box end wrench to get these tightened down. Now I'm going to go around and kind of snug them all up individually, and then I'll torque them down. Now that we have them all snugged down, do not torque these down with the Allen because it's going to strip out. There's just no two ways about it. So I'm actually going to torque it down and just kind of estimate what seems to be tight enough with the bolt on the bottom. And I'm just using the Allen to hold it in place. There we go. So sprocket's on, all tightened down, looking nice. So we're going to set it down on the sprocket now, be very careful. We're gonna put our brake on. Okay, so we've got another set of new bolts here. These are Tusk brake rotor bolt kit and a new stainless steel brake. Like the other ones, these bolts came with thread locker on them already. So use a 6 Allen head and we'll get these tightened down. Again, be very careful with these. You do not want to strip the heads out, and then you're gonna be trying to dig them out of there with all kinds of means. Now that we have the tire and wheel, brake rotors, and the new sprocket all assembled, we're going to grab the wheel balancer. We're gonna get this thing balanced up so that it's not moving a lot when we are going down the highway. It's important to do this because it will destroy your linkage bearings if you don't do it. The tire has a tendency to want to move up and down and rattle if it's not balanced. And I can tell right now this one, it's gonna wanna pull down to the side that has the wheel lock on it. So what I'm gonna do is just give this a little turn here. Just take your time here, figure out where the heavy part is. And I know it's gonna be right here. So what we're gonna do first, I'm gonna take what I assume is gonna be the correct weight to offset that. We're gonna get that put on one of the spokes. What we'll do is take it and turn it 90 degrees and let it go. See what happens. Still pretty heavy down there. I'm gonna throw another heavy one on this side. See if that makes a difference. Again, we'll turn it 90 degrees. And it's not wanting to turn quite as fast. Still wanting to turn though. I'm gonna put another one up there, see if this is too heavy. Okay, and again, 90 degrees, and we're not getting any movement there. So I'm gonna spin the tire, let it kind of slowly come to a stop. Seems to be pretty even at this point. All right, so we have this balanced up pretty well, enough that I'm gonna be happy with it. It's not gonna be shaking, making a lot of vibration, and possibly damaged to a whole bunch of things. So what I'm gonna do is put some thread locker on those set screws that are on these brass weights so they don't come off and fly off while we're riding. A few things I forgot to mention. This tire is not directional. It is exactly the same, both directions, doesn't matter. Put it on there however you want to. I hope you found some value in this video and that you're able to get some tires on and new sprockets and brakes. So if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I try to respond to everybody. Like, subscribe to the channel. We're gonna continue on with this XR250 mini adventure bike build. So we'll see you next week. I'm gonna try to get videos out every week. My life's crazy right now, but we're gonna get it done. All right, see you next time.